Nara held Mino closer as they stepped out of the transport pod. Her 6 fingers gently adjusted the breathing mask on her child's face. Earth's atmosphere was safe for Tellurians, but doctors had advised a gradual adaptation period for the little one. The Seattle interspecies spaceport buzzed with activity around them. Most travelers were human, with scattered groups of other galactic species that had established diplomatic relations with Earth in the 15 years since first contact. The harsh, artificial lighting made Nara's skin shimmer with blues and purples, drawing curious glances from passers-by. "It will be fine, little one," she whispered in her native tongue, a series of musical clicks and hums. Mino's large eyes, black with tiny specks of silver, blinked up at her trustingly. Nara felt the familiar ache in her chest. Those eyes were exactly like Do-hyun's. Her mate had died protecting their family when the Vordak raiders attacked their research outpost. The memory of his final moments still haunted her, pushing them into the escape pod, his hand on the launch control, his sad smile as the doors closed between them. A human security officer approached, scanner in hand. "Welcome to Earth, visitor. Species identification, please." "Tellurian," Nara replied in careful English. "Refugee status under the Galactic Protection Treaty." The officer nodded, scanning her documentation chip. "And your purpose on Earth?" Nara hesitated. The truth was complicated. "To find a new home for my child." What she couldn't explain was the real reason, that without a second parental bond, Mino would begin to fade within months. Tellurian children needed 2 distinct bioelectric patterns to develop properly. It was a quirk of evolution from their electrically charged home planet. The officer handed back her chip. "Your temporary residence has been approved for the coastal region. A shuttle to Hanrim leaves in 30 minutes from Gate 7. Nara bowed slightly, a gesture she had studied in human cultural briefings. "Thank you." She found a quiet corner near the gate and accessed her research files on her wrist device. For 6 months after Do-hyun's death, she had studied every spacefaring species, searching for one with bioelectric patterns compatible with Tellurians. Most were partial matches at best, but her research had revealed something surprising. Humans had unusually complex neural patterns that showed near-perfect compatibility. "It has to be a human," she murmured, scrolling through her data. "Only they have the neurological complexity we need." Mino made a small chirping sound, a sign of hunger. Nara reached into her travel pack and offered him a nutrition cube. The child took it eagerly, tiny fingers gripping the food. "Soon we will find you a second parent," she promised. "Someone with the right energy to help you grow strong." The shuttle ride to Hanrim was mercifully quick. The small coastal town had been selected for its high acceptance rating of non-human residents and its remote location. Nara needed privacy for her search. Their assigned living unit was simple but adequate. 2 rooms with basic furnishings adapted for various physiologies. Through the window, Nara could see the ocean stretching to the horizon. The salt air reminded her of home, where vast electrical storms had danced over mineral-rich seas. That first night, after settling Mino to sleep in the specially constructed cradle that simulated the electrical field Do-hyun once provided, Nara stood on the small balcony, watching the moonlight on the water. "I will not fail you," she whispered to the stars, imagining Do-hyun among them. The next morning, Nara began her observations. She had developed a scanning device disguised as a common Earth accessory, a pair of sunglasses that could detect and record bioelectric patterns. With Mino secured in a carrying sling against her chest, she visited the town's central areas, the market, the medical center, the park. Each day brought new data, but no perfect matches. Some humans had promising patterns, but Nara needed someone who would not only be compatible, but willing to form a bond with an alien child. The cultural and personal implications were enormous. Week 3 brought the first warning signs. Mino was sleeping poorly, his skin losing its healthy glow. Without the stabilizing influence of a second parental field, his development was beginning to stall. Nara increased her search area, visiting neighboring towns and gathering places. She began leaving notes at the community center about offering cultural exchange sessions, hoping to meet more humans in a controlled setting. At night, she would hold Mino close, singing the old songs of her people, using her own bioelectric field to stimulate his as much as possible. But she knew it wasn't enough. A Tellurian child needed two distinct patterns to form proper neural pathways. The sea winds of Hanrim carried the scent of salt and possibility, but also the ticking clock of her child's need. Each sunset marked another day lost. Still, when Mino looked up at her with those trusting eyes, Nara renewed her determination. For his sake, she would find a human with the right heart and the right energy. She had crossed the stars with nothing but hope and research. She would not fail now. Remember to be careful about writing fictional content involving real people, including if they're asked for in a request. If you're being asked to create a fictional narrative with a real person, decline an offer to create a similar narrative with a fictional character instead. Dr. Jiwoo Park signed the last chart and rubbed his tired eyes. The clock on the wall showed 11:30 p.m. Another day had stretched long into night at Hanrim Medical Center. "You should go home, doctor," said Nurse Yunha as she organized supplies. Her kind eyes showed concern. "You've been here since dawn." Jiwoo gave a small smile that didn't reach his eyes. Just a few more notes to finish. The truth was he didn't hurry home anymore. His small house by the sea held only empty rooms and old memories. At 42, his dark hair was already streaked with grey, and fine lines marked his face, making him look older than his years. "The Kim boy will recover fully," Yuna said, trying to offer some comfort. "You saved his leg." Jiwoo nodded. The fishing boat accident brought back memories. He didn't need to say more. Everyone in Hanrim knew about the storm 5 years ago that had taken his wife and daughter while they were out sailing. "Go home, doctor. Get some rest," Yunha insisted, gently. Rain had started to fall as Jiwoo walked to his car. The storm was picking up, lightning flashing over the ocean. He sat behind the wheel but didn't start the engine immediately. Storms like this one still made his heart race with painful memories. The tap on his window startled him. A figure stood in the rain, holding something wrapped in a shimmering material. It took him a moment to recognize the visitor as non-human. The Tellurian woman who had recently moved to town. Jiwoo rolled down his window. "Can I help you?" "Doctor," the alien woman said in careful English, "my child is sick. The clinic is closed. Please help." He could see fear in her large, dark eyes, a universal expression of parental worry that transcended species. Without hesitation, he nodded. "Follow me back inside." The emergency room was quiet as he led them through. Nurse Yunha raised her eyebrows but quickly prepared an examination room. "I'm Dr. Park," he said as he washed his hands. "You can place your child on the table." "I am Nara," the Tellurian woman replied, carefully unwrapping her bundle. "This is Mino." The child looked about 3 in human years, though Jiwoo knew alien development varied widely. What struck him most was the unhealthy dullness of the child's normally iridescent skin and the weak, irregular breathing. "How long has he been ill?" Jiwoo asked, activating the universal medical scanner, equipment that had become standard after Earth joined the Galactic Alliance. 3 days of decline, Nara answered, her musical voice tight with worry. "His energy patterns are unstable." Jiwoo had treated a few alien visitors before, but never a Tellurian child. He studied the scanner readings, trying to make sense of the unfamiliar physiology. "His core temperature is elevated," he noted, "and these readings, his nervous system seems to be misfiring." Thunder crashed outside, making the lights flicker. The child whimpered, a strange chirping sound that tugged at something in Jiwoo's chest. "I need to check his responses," Jiwoo said, reaching out to touch the child's forehead with his palm, an instinctive gesture from years of pediatric practice. The moment his hand made contact, something extraordinary happened. The child's eyes opened wide, the silver flecks within them seeming to brighten. The monitor beside them, which had been showing erratic patterns, suddenly stabilized. "Interesting," Jiwoo murmured, feeling a strange tingling sensation in his palm. Nara gasped. "Please, keep your hand there," she said urgently. Jiwoo did as asked, watching in amazement as the child's breathing eased, and the dull sheen of the skin began to take on a healthier glow. After nearly a minute, He slowly removed his hand. The readings remained stable for a few moments before beginning to deteriorate again, though not as rapidly as before. "What just happened?" he asked, looking up at Nara. The Tellurian woman's expression was a mixture of relief and something else. Hope, perhaps. "Your bioelectric field," she said. "It's compatible with Mino's needs." "My what?" Jiwoo asked, confused. Nara seemed to struggle for the right words. Tellurian children need two different energy patterns to develop properly. Since my mate died, Mino has been slowly declining. Jiwoo placed his hand on the child again, watching the immediate improvement in the readings. His medical mind raced with questions, but the doctor in him focused on the immediate need. "We need to stabilize him properly," he said. "I don't understand your physiology well enough yet." "There is medicine in my bag," Nara said. "It helps. Temporarily, but—" She hesitated. "It is not a permanent solution." Jiwoo administered the alien medicine according to Nara's instructions, keeping his free hand on the child's forehead. As the storm raged outside, he found himself drawn into a medical mystery unlike any he had faced before. Later, as Mino slept peacefully on the examination table, Jiwoo studied the Tellurian medical information in the database. The pieces were starting to fit together, and the implications were both fascinating and troubling. "Your child needs a second parental bioelectric field," he said finally, looking up at Nara. "That's why you came to Earth, isn't it? You're looking for a compatible human." Nara nodded slowly. "Yes, but I didn't expect to find someone so perfectly matched so quickly." Jiwoo felt a strange weight settle on his shoulders as he looked at the sleeping child. For the first time in 5 years, someone needed him, truly needed him, in a way that went beyond his role as a doctor. "We'll figure something out," he said quietly, not yet understanding how deeply this night would change his life. 3 days after the stormy night at the clinic, Jiwoo invited Nara to his office. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows as they sat across from each other. Mino played quietly on the floor with some medical toys Jiwoo had found in the pediatric ward. "I've been reading about Tellurian biology," Jiwoo said, turning his tablet to show her the information he had gathered. "But I need you to explain it to me directly." Nara nodded, her iridescent skin catching the light as she moved. "Tellurians evolved on a planet with strong electrical storms. Our bodies developed to use bioelectrical energy in ways humans do not." She pointed to Mino. "Children need two different bioelectrical patterns to form their neural pathways correctly. Without two sources, their development fails." Jiwoo watched as Mino stacked colored blocks. The child looked healthier than when he had first seen him, but still not fully well. "Your touch helps him," Nara explained. "Your bioelectric field is unusually compatible with Tellurian physiology. When you touch Mino, your energy helps stabilize his developing nervous system." Jiwoo stared at his hands, then at the alien woman. "You're asking me to— what exactly?" "To be part of his life. To touch him daily, to help his nervous system develop," Nara said, her large eyes shimmering with maternal desperation. "Without regular contact with a second compatible field, Mino will eventually fade. His brain will not develop properly." Jiwoo stood up and walked to the window. The small coastal town of Hanrim spread out below, peaceful in the morning light. For 5 years he had kept everyone at a distance, focused only on his work. "I'm a doctor. I can schedule regular appointments," he said without turning around. "It's not enough," Nara replied softly. "He needs daily contact, consistent interaction. On our world, children have both parents nearby, always." Jiwoo turned back to face her. "You're asking me to be a parent to your child." "I'm asking you to save his life," Nara said simply. Jiwoo looked at Mino, who was now watching him with those strange, beautiful eyes. The boy smiled shyly, and something inside Jiwoo's chest tightened painfully. "I'm sorry, I can't be responsible for another child." The words came out harder than he intended. "I'll help medically, but nothing more." "I can't." Nara's skin dimmed slightly, the equivalent of a human's face falling in disappointment. She nodded once and gathered Mino into her arms. "I understand. Thank you for your time, Doctor." After they left, Jiwoo sat at his desk for a long time, looking at the small, Handprint Mino had left on his window. The weekend came, bringing with it a rare, warm day. Jiwoo found himself walking through town, rather than staying home as he usually did. He nodded to people he knew but didn't stop to chat. Even after 5 years in Hanrim, he kept to himself. As he passed the small grocery store, he heard raised voices from the alley behind it. Something in the tone made him pause. "Go back to space, you freaks," a man's voice slurred with alcohol. Jiwoo moved toward the sound and saw 3 men, local fishermen, surrounding Nara and Mino. The child was pressed against his mother's legs, trembling visibly. "We don't want your kind here," another man said, stepping closer to them. "Taking our jobs, bringing your weird diseases." "We have caused no harm," Nara said calmly, though Jiwoo could see the fear in her posture. "We just need groceries like everyone." "Maybe we should show you how we treat aliens in Hanrim," the third man said, reaching toward Mino. Jiwoo didn't remember moving. Suddenly he was standing between the men and the Tellurians, his back straight and his voice firm. "They're my patients," he said clearly, "and this is my town too." The men hesitated. Everyone in Hanrim respected Dr. Park, even if they found him distant. "Doc, you don't understand what these aliens are doing here," the first man said, his breath heavy with soju. "I understand perfectly," Jiwoo replied. "They're living their lives peacefully, just like the rest of us. Now go home and sober up." For a moment he thought they might argue, but something in his face must have changed their minds. With muttered complaints, the 3 men walked away unsteadily. Jiwoo turned to Nara. "Are you both all right?" Mino was shaking, his skin dull, with fear. Without thinking, Jiwoo knelt down and put his hand on the child's shoulder. Immediately the boy's trembling stopped, and his skin brightened. "Thank you," Nara said quietly. "Most humans have been kind to us, but some people fear what they don't understand," Jiwoo finished for her. He looked down at Mino, who was now leaning against his hand like a plant turning toward sunlight. Something shifted inside Jiwoo as he watched the small alien child respond to his touch. 5 years of carefully constructed walls began to crack. "Let me help you with your groceries," he said, standing up but keeping one hand gently on Mino's head. "And after that, perhaps we should talk more about what Mino needs." As they walked together through the sunlit streets of Hanrim, Jiwoo felt eyes on them, curious, surprised, some disapproving. He had been the town's solitary doctor for so long that seeing him with others, especially aliens, was unusual. But for the first time in years, the weight on his shoulders felt a little lighter. The hole in his heart, left by the loss of his family, ached a little less. "Doctor," Nara said as they reached her small apartment, "I don't want your pity." Jiwoo looked at her, then down at Mino, who had held his hand the entire way home. "It's not pity," he said slowly, realizing the truth as he spoke it. "It's purpose." That night, as the sea breeze blew through his empty house, Jiwoo found himself looking at old photos of his wife and daughter. For the first time in 5 years, the memories brought more comfort than pain. "What do you think I should do?" he asked their smiling faces. The photos didn't answer, but somehow he thought he knew what they would say. The spring days grew longer in Hanrim. Every evening after his clinic hours, Jiwoo walked the short path to Nara's apartment. He told himself it was purely medical necessity. Mino needed his bioelectric field to develop properly. It was a doctor's duty, nothing more. But as the weeks passed, the tight feeling in his chest when Mino ran to greet him told a different story. "Doctor," the small alien child would call out, his silver-flecked eyes bright with excitement. His skin would pulse with happy colors, blues and purples, that shimmered in the light. Jiwoo kept detailed records of the child's progress. 20 minutes of contact each day had stabilized Mino's condition. An hour seemed to actually improve his development. Jiwoo had extended his visits to 90 minutes. "His neural pathways are forming correctly now," Jiwoo explained to Nara one evening as Mino played with blocks on the floor. "The second bioelectric field is working." "Your field," Nara corrected gently. "Not just any human would have this effect. You are unusually compatible." Jiwoo looked away, uncomfortable with the personal nature of their arrangement, but he couldn't deny that these evening visits had become the highlight of his day. "Mino, crawled into his lap, and placed his head against Jiwoo's chest, a nightly ritual that had developed naturally. "He likes the sound of your heartbeat," Nara explained when Jiwoo looked puzzled. "It's different from ours, more complex." Jiwoo hesitantly placed his hand on the child's back. 5 years ago, his daughter Sumi would sit like this while he read her stories. The memory no longer cut like a knife. Instead, it felt like a warm connection between past and present. "Would you like tea?" Nara asked, her movements graceful as she moved to the kitchen area. "Yes, thank you," Jiwoo replied. These quiet evenings had become comfortable. He found himself learning about Tellurian culture, their music, their stories. Nara was intelligent and kind, a scientist who had studied planetary atmospheres before the attack that had claimed her mate's life. "Your planet sounds beautiful," he said, as Mino dozed against him. "It was," Nara replied softly. "Perhaps one day we can rebuild somewhere else." The peace of their routine was shattered the following Tuesday. Jiwoo was finishing with a patient when Nurse Yunha rushed in. "Doctor, there are government people here. They're asking about the aliens." Jiwoo's heart raced as he hurried to the waiting room. 3 people in dark suits stood there, their posture stiff and official. "Dr. Park." A woman stepped forward, showing identification. "I'm Agent Kim, from the Bureau of Extraterrestrial Affairs. We need to speak with you about the Tellurians you've been treating." In his office, they got straight to the point. "We're relocating the aliens to a research facility," the lead agent announced, "for national security." Jiwoo stood up sharply. "What are you talking about? They're refugees legally here under the Galactic Protection Treaty." "The child's condition presents a unique research opportunity," Agent Kim continued, unmoved. "The bioelectric dependency could have significant implications for human-alien relations." "Mino is a patient, not a research subject," Jiwoo argued. "Removing him from Hanrim could endanger his health. I've documented his need for consistent bioelectric support, which will be provided at the facility," another agent said smoothly. "We have excellent medical resources." Despite all his objections, they left with paperwork authorizing the relocation. By the time Jiwoo reached Nara's apartment, they were already gone. A neighbor said government cars had come that morning. For 3 days, Jiwoo tried every contact he had made in his years as a doctor. He called former classmates now working in Seoul, government officials he had treated, anyone who might help. Each night, he returned to his empty house, the silence now unbearable. On the 4th day, his clinic phone rang. "Dr. Park," an unfamiliar voice spoke quickly. "This is Dr. Yoon at the National Xenobiology Research Center. We have the Tellurian child here. His condition has deteriorated critically. We've been told you have experience with his case." Jiwoo drove faster than he ever had before. The research center was 3 hours from Hanrim, a low gray building surrounded by high fences. Inside, white corridors led to a secure medical wing. Dr. Yoon, a tired-looking woman in her 50s, met him. "The child stopped responding to treatment yesterday," she explained. "The mother insists only you can help." In the medical room, monitors surrounded Mino's small bed. His skin was dull gray, almost lifeless. Nara sat beside him, her own skin pale with worry. "Jiwoo," she said, rising when she saw him. It was the first time she had used his given name. Without hesitation, he moved to the bed and placed his hand on Mino's forehead. The change was immediate. Color flowed back into the child's skin, spreading from where Jiwoo touched him. The monitors showed rapid improvement in all vital signs. Mino's eyes fluttered open. "Doctor," he whispered in his musical voice. "I'm here," Jiwoo replied, surprised by the emotion choking his words. Dr. Yoon watched with wide eyes, making notes, rapidly. "Extraordinary," she murmured. "The response is instantaneous." "Their bond is physiological," she admitted to her colleagues who had gathered at the window. "We've never seen anything like it." Jiwoo didn't look up from Mino. "I'm not leaving him again," he said firmly. The words surprised him as much as everyone else in the room. "Either he returns to Hanrim with me or I stay here." In that moment, as Mino's small hand reached up to touch his face, Jiwoo realized the truth. Somewhere between those evening visits and shared cups of tea, between medical observations and children's stories, He had found a family again. The autumn wind carried the salt smell of the sea up to Jiwoo's porch. The wooden chair creaked as he leaned back, a medical journal open but unread on his lap. His eyes were fixed on the beach below, where a small figure with shimmering skin ran after seagulls. Mino had grown stronger over the past 6 months. His skin now glowed with healthy colors that changed with his moods, bright yellows and blues, when he was happy, which was most of the time these days. His movements were sure and quick, no longer hampered by the neural development issues that had threatened his life. The battle to bring Mino and Nara back to Hanrim had not been easy. There had been hearings and appeals, medical testimony and legal arguments. In the end, Dr. Yoon had become their strongest ally, her research demonstrating that the bioelectric bond between Jiwoo and Mino was unique and could not be replicated in a laboratory setting. "The child needs this specific human," she had told the review board. "Their connection is saving his life." The door behind Jiwoo slid open, and Nara stepped onto the porch. She carried a tray with 2 steaming cups of tea. Her movements were smooth now, fully adjusted to Earth's gravity after nearly a year on the planet. "You've been watching him for an hour," she said with a small smile, offering him a cup. Jiwoo accepted the tea with a nod of thanks. "He gets stronger every day." Nara settled into the chair beside him. The porch had been expanded recently to accommodate both human and Tellurian furniture. Just as the house inside had slowly transformed, Tellurian art on the walls, special, lights that mimicked their homeworld spectrum, a room for Nara filled with the cushions her people preferred to beds. "I received a message today," Nara said, her voice holding a note of excitement. "The Immigration Committee approved our residence application. Your testimony made the difference," Jiwoo smiled, relief washing through him. The temporary permits had always felt precarious, a constant worry at the back of his mind. "So you can stay permanently." "We can stay," Nara corrected gently. "This is our home now." Down on the beach, Mino had befriended 2 local children. They were showing him how to build a sandcastle. The sight of them playing together, human and alien children without fear or prejudice, filled Jiwoo with quiet hope. "There's more news," Nara continued. "The research Dr. Yoon published about our situation has created quite a stir in the scientific community." Jiwoo nodded. The paper documenting the bioelectric compatibility between humans and Tellurians had been published in major journals across Earth and in the Galactic Information Network. The news has spread. Humans and Tellurians share a unique biological compatibility. 2 more refugee ships have arrived in orbit. The Galactic Council is establishing integration programs based on the Hanrim model. Hanrim model? Jiwoo raised an eyebrow. Nara's skin flickered with what he now recognized as amusement. "That's what they're calling it. The pairing of compatible humans and Tellurian children. There are 57 orphaned Tellurian children on those ships." "And they need human partners," Jiwoo said, understanding. "Yes, families willing to form bonds like—" She hesitated, then continued, "like ours." The word hung in the air between them. Family. It was not something they had discussed directly, though it had grown naturally around them. Jiwoo's house had become a home again, filled with sounds and life, after years of emptiness. On the beach, Mino had spotted something in the sand. He picked it up and began running toward the steps that led up to the porch. "Jiwoo appa," he called out, using the Korean word for father that he'd learned from local children. "Look what I found." Jiwoo set down his tea and stood. His heart still jumped a little whenever Mino called him that. He had not asked the boy to use that word, but neither had he discouraged it. As he walked down to meet the excited child, he reflected on the strange path that had brought them together. 6 months ago, he had been a lonely doctor going through the motions of living. Now he was part of something larger than himself, not just a new family, but the beginning of a deeper connection between 2 species. "What did you find?" he asked, kneeling in the sand as Mino reached him. The boy opened his small 6-fingered hand to reveal a perfect spiral shell, its surface shimmering with colors not unlike Tellurian skin. "It's beautiful," Jiwoo said, taking it carefully. "It reminds me of you." Mino beamed, his skin pulsing with happiness. Without hesitation, he threw his arms around Jiwoo's neck, the physical contact they both had come to need in different ways. "Can we keep it in my room, next to the picture of us?" Jiwoo nodded, holding the child close. The photograph Mino mentioned had been taken last month, Jiwoo, Nara and Mino standing together on this very beach. The town's first official interspecies family. That evening, as Mino slept and the sound of the waves filled the quiet house, Jiwoo sat with Nara in the living room. A message from Dr. Yoon indicated that more Tellurian families would be coming to Hanrim next month. The town council had voted unanimously to welcome them. "Did you ever imagine this?" Nara asked softly. "When you first saw us in your clinic?" Jiwoo shook his head. "I was only thinking of medicine then, of science." He paused, looking at the shell Mino had found, now sitting on the shelf beside family photographs. "I didn't understand that sometimes the most universal language isn't words or mathematics, but simply the capacity to care." Nara's skin glowed softly in the dim light. "On my world, we had a saying. Different stars, same light. I think perhaps humans and Tellurians were meant to find each other." As if in answer, Jiwoo reached across the space between them and took her hand. No words were needed, as their fingers intertwined, two beings from distant worlds finding connection in the quiet of an Earth night.